What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we're providing you a state of the market and stock picks for May 23rd, 2023. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing as we do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market. Now, today was a pretty much a very sideways day, as you can see, since Friday into today. There's not a lot going on. There's not as far as the stock market is concerned. Let's get that straight. Now, this week is going to be a very big week, in my opinion. There's a lot of potential data and a lot of potential information that could potentially lead to a big move. Now, if you don't know, we are essentially in talks for a debt ceiling deal in which we have until the first. So we got about a week and a half to get that deal done. Now it's been going back and forth. They were pumping it a lot last week. The administration was only to come out to find that they walked out on Friday. Then there was no deal on Sunday. Today we opened up. The market was kind of flat, nothing exciting. But ultimately understand that there's supposed to be another talk here later this evening. I think it's in about an hour and a half from now. The market's about ready to close here in about 5 minutes, and so I think it's about 5:30 Eastern Standard Time is when that meeting is supposed to happen. And these meetings are great and fantastic, but again, the biggest thing to understand here is that they have to they will come to a deal. It just depends. They'll play it as close as they can to get what they want. It's very much a political game. Ultimately understand the whole world needs them to not default. The biggest problem being, though, is that it's not just the default game, but it's ultimately understanding that we don't want to get our credits downgraded it was one of the biggest problems. And the closer you play it to the chest, whether that is the first, we're not really sure. Again, we've heard rumors that it could have been out till August, and it's just kind of just Yellen just trying to play the game and trying to say it's the first. We don't know for sure. But we will find out because last time they played this game, we did get downgraded. I believe it was in 2011 when that happened, with a lot of the same people at play with Yellen and Biden at the helm. So just keep that in mind. But with that being said, not only do we have the debt crisis, we do have banking crisis still going on. And Yellen did mention that other banks will need to be merged. And today, what was interesting today is there are Fed members speaking all throughout the day. And so the odds, you've had a couple Fed members talk about more rate increases, and something I've talked about that, Elon Musk had pointed out that we didn't want to go another 25-point basis move, and we did. Now we're potentially adding another one, if not a third one here, going into in July. We're talking about July now. So June, July, two potential another 25-point basis moves would absolutely obliterate the market, in my opinion. And I understand it's a very lagging indicator, and I'll get into more details about that. But ultimately, understand that so you have that going on, and then that's not even bringing up the scheduled events this week, right? You have Yellen. I believe she gives a testimony on Wednesday. You have FOMC meeting notes on Wednesday, which are looking for recession talks in those notes. You do have the GDP on Thursday, which is supposed to potentially lead into our first negative GDP based off of their reassessment. I believe we've been in a recession for a while, but they've recalculated things, recalibrated things. But based off their new calculations, this could actually put us into a negative GDP on Thursday. And then we have the PCE data on Friday. So we have a lot of potential things going on. And then, like I said, you have the banking crisis, that anything can go on with that. The housing crisis, again, that's not going to really turn into a housing crisis just because there is very low supply. But if supply gets to a point to where it starts flooding the market, it's going to turn into a crisis, because right now people just can't afford to purchase homes because people are trying to stay where they can. But when they're forced to have to put their house on the market, that could increase supply quite a bit, and so it could ultimately drive down prices very, very dramatically compared to what they already are. So that's the one thing we're missing in the housing crisis, is the supply, but that can very well quickly change given some other circumstances, right? Especially with all the banking crisis, you get more banks going under. That's going to put a lot more pressure on people to lose jobs and have to sell to try to get money some way, shape, or form so they can at least survive until this wave or this recession is over, if not a depression. So, with all that being said, something I haven't really mentioned is one thing you want to look at in to kind of feed into the whole thesis that I've been talking about to this point, because a lot of people could say that's great, but the big thing is the market is running up, and so understandably, but you have to understand a lot of these indexes are very weighted. Now, if you look at the Russell is down and still very bearish, but you have the Nasdaq and you have the SPX that are up quite a bit. You have to understand that a lot of the very heavily weighted stocks, 7 stocks, all tech. So you're going from Apple, Google, Microsoft, Tesla. You're looking at Meta, right? A lot of these big player stocks in the top 7 hold a huge amount of weight. They hold, like, I think it's like 45% of the weight in the market, and they've all been rocketing off of news of Chat GPT and AI. And so those are what is essentially holding everything up. Everything else has either been flat or essentially been essentially destroyed over the past couple weeks, and so, or the past year and a half, right? And so, with all that being said, it leads us to where we're currently at. And as of right now, things are definitely not in a good state. We are currently looking at those particular things and understand that eventually tech will start dying down, right? And once we start really getting recession numbers, whether that's more breaks in the system, things are bad. And I mentioned this in the weekly update, is that I've noticed even locally that theft is getting worse, right? Target has announced that they are projecting to lose $1 billion this year. And even locally at my local grocery store, right? And they were closing one side. There's 2 doors into the grocery store. They closed one of them down, and now they've essentially made essentially the self checkout. They've limited the amount of items you can have in there, and now the weight sensitivity for all the bags have been tuned up. So now it's extremely sensitive to whatever's been put in the bag, and so you have to understand that it's affecting everyone and everywhere. If you don't know someone by now or know multiple people that have been laid off at this point, it is getting a lot worse. You can't deny that, and you can't just not look and see that. So, with that being said, again, a lot of major issues going on here. So we will have to wait and see how it plays out. Hopefully, this week can give us some direction and break us out of this rut. Yes, we've had this pump because of the deal, but we have to ultimately understand that it could potentially start dying down from there. So let's go over some technicals real quick. This video, I don't want to make this video too long. There's still a lot. We're still just waiting. So the 4180 is kind of what you're looking for support. I don't think we're going to get much movement until potentially Wednesday. So we'll see there. Again, the 4200 is a solid wall. Kind of just floating around it. So if we can't break up above the 4212, this thing really isn't going to go far. And if it does, then the 4300 is the next thing I'm watching, and that's another solid support too. So you have to be careful with that as well. Bitcoin is still holding pretty flat. Like I said, it's waiting for the market. Let's jump over the daily here. Still waiting on the market for some action to happen there. Again, it's still tied very much with the markets, and considering what's going on with the markets, it will break whatever way the market's going to go at this point. So Tesla actually had a massive day. We'll see if it can pump back up to 200 tomorrow. Surprisingly, it's very strong again. Again, people's safe haven are tech, and that people aren't putting their money in anything else other than tech at this point. And this is why everything else is pretty much dead. But ultimately understand that, again, this is not a good sign, right, for the market, and understand that they won't be able to hold up forever. These are already very overextended. If you're not taking profits already, you're really running the risk of this thing. This thing could just flatline tomorrow and drop off the face of the planet, because it's already very overextended. Same with Palantir, right? We're still looking for this gap fill down here. It's been kind of sideways, though. A lot more people are looking at the higher ones like Amazon, Apple losing some steam today. Amazon losing a lot of steam here itself. Meta, these are all your big stocks I was talking about losing some steam today. Huge gap fill on Meta that it needs to fill. So we're looking at those kind of things, and that's kind of what's been pushing up the index, and why it looks like we're going into a new bull market. But it's not the case. It's only 7 stocks that are pushing the market up, and again, a lot of AI hype is what it is, and causing it to push up. And so after that, then once we start getting real recession numbers, which we're seeing, the fact that they're locking down laundry detergent and everything else because things are just so bad is eye-opening and shocking because of what's going on. Boeing again flat, the 220, the 195 is what we're looking at there. Banks, very hard, strong rejection today. Again, it's 145 as a solid wall for JPM. Still looking for this one to fill. Still expecting 125 at least for JPM. Again, there's a lot going on in the background that you're not aware of, that none of us are aware of, that can break or happening at any moment and can absolutely just obliterate this market. So just keep that in mind. But that's pretty much all I have for today. I don't want to make this video too long. Again, there's not a lot going on. I wanted to give more insight into what is going on and what I saw, and kind of get a better allow you to get a better understanding of why the market is still pushing up. And it seems like it's that way, but understand it's only about 7 stocks that are keeping the market up, right? The rest of the market is just flat, waiting for new information, where tech has just been popping, and it looks like we're in a new bull market when that's not the case. Again, understanding what is going on. Yes, the debt ceiling can help, but we have to also understand student loans is coming in a couple months. There are 23 million Americans that aren't paying student loans, and considering that they just announced that it's that people essentially can't afford like a $400 like critical, if they need to dish out $400 for some unforeseen expense, they can't afford it. So now you're talking about re-adding in college loan debt, which is a minimum from what I've seen, $300. So you can see how bad this is going to cascade and get nasty very quickly over the next couple of months. And again, I said Q3 is probably going to be the worst of it. Is that going to be the catalyst? Because right now we've really been waiting for something to break, the catalyst to break everything down to where we can start cutting rates, right? And that's not going to happen until we get some huge catalyst, and it's going to be massive, right? We've gone over that already. So with that being said, if you made this far, I do appreciate you. Go ahead and drop a like. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.